Hey, everybody, welcome back to Delete Everything podcast for part 2 of Yasuke Black Samurai.
Karate chop.
I don't have a big thing because this is
He
all...
did. It was discussed.
we don't...
Watch
Jesus
your step.
Christ. We don't have a big intro because this is all time crunch stuff for us. But, you know, as per usual, thank you guys if you went online and gave us reviews, comments on Spotify episodes, any ratings, all that stuff helps us tremendously. We appreciate you guys so much. If you haven't done it, please take a second, do those things. It's very helpful to us, honestly. So if you want to send us a private message about how you made a mold of Yasuke's dick and you want to send it to us, deleteeverythingpodcast@gmail.com.
That would actually probably be an incredibly valuable artifact.
Well, I mean, how would you get it historically accurate? You just got to guess. There's a lot of guesswork involved.
Well, I'm saying, like, if there was one, if there was a mold of his dick from like the past, that
Yeah.
would be like wildly like valuable artifact. I'm pretty sure.
Biggest dick in Japan in the 1580s.
Dude, you could sell that at every sex shop anywhere.
You're assuming that.
And women would walk into the shops, they'd be like, "Oh my god,
Oh my God.
Give me the Yasuke, please.
Can I get
Throwback
the
to
Yasuke,
episode
please?"
1. So yeah, also we're going to talk about social media, Patreon, all that stuff on the ass end. But first, we're going to jump into part 2 of this thing. So we left off with sort of all the shit with, you know, getting Yasuke's background and the Jesuits and all this stuff. And Father Valignano finally sort of achieving his goal of convincing Oda Nobunaga that the Jesuit cause was worth it for, you know, for him to protect and be okay with. And thusly saying, "Hey, Nobunaga, take my guy, you know, take my guy Yasuke." And honestly, Nobunaga really sort of embracing this guy into his court, right? Not just as an oddity, but as a
Friend.
as someone whose warrior mind he respects, someone whose intel he respects, and someone who he felt compelled to build a home for, have a blade specifically made, which is one of the highest fucking honors that the most important man in Japan just sort of did for you.
You know what's wild?
Yeah.
Is today, if somebody had a sword made for you, it would still be
It
the
would still
highest
be,
honor
yeah.
you've ever
Good
fucking
point.
had.
Good
oh
point.
my God.
Like, if somebody came to you and was like, "Hey, I had this handmade
Oh my
for
God,
you,
it was
by
probably
a fucking
beautiful
bladesmith,"
too.
like, holy shit.
You know, it was probably fucking beautiful too.
Yeah, that's a cool scene in the movie too. Shh. And
Ugh.
him going like, "Huh, cool, thanks."
And then like 5 minutes later, it's like the son's being like, "Oh, I cried, dude. That was amazing. It's the most highest honor." And he's like,
Do you think
shit.
think Yasuke went to?
Was I supposed to be?
think Yasuke went
Was
to
I
him?
supposed to cry?
Think he went to him later and he was like, "Hey, about the sword too.
Yeah.
I want you to like. That really affected me, man."
Yeah. I
That
know
was-
I just told you to slap my hand while I held
That
it up
is-
in the air, but
I feel like maybe I didn't show you enough like love for that, but it was yeah, good.
Made you this pie as a
well, so
Yeah, I made you a lasagna.
Jesus. But I mean, like, so as we were going through this last week, you know, I was sort of like thinking about it, and so this part of my brain that's writing the movie script, you know, because we always kind of go back to that place, immediately says, "Okay, now who's the antagonist here?"
Yeah,
right?
now what's the bad thing? What's the
Who's the samurai who's offended and refuses to dignify Yasuke's role with his acceptance until some epic battle where Yasuke saves his life and the two of them have to team up and like save the day?
Yeah,
you know?
because in Tom Cruise's the Last Samurai, it was the British.
Yeah.
They were like, you know, because he's like being elevated
Yeah.
with Ken Watanabe to being best homies, and he's
Yeah.
not a drunk anymore. And then the British are fucking with him, and then they
Yeah.
got to do the whole battle thing.
Yeah,
That's the clap. No, this is the part. This is the part where Tom Cruise gets attacked on the street and he does the sword thing because like he's learned from the samurai,
So
and now he's
stupid.
got it. Now they got to team up.
Such a good movie, so stupid. Jesus.
Was that also in Star Wars?
Yeah, that's actually a very similar thing happens with Donnie Yen in Rogue One, a Star Wars story,
Wow.
where he's blind, you know, and he walks out into this battle, and then some shit comes and he beats him up.
Cool sword shit's always going to be cool, man. Doesn't matter if they're light up swords or they're,
here.
you know, it doesn't matter. Cool sword shit's always gonna be awesome.
I actually, fun story and true story. I was gonna do it today, but we're recording today, and I will advertise the shit out of this to everyone that's interested. There is a sword fighting group that just started in St. Augustine, Florida.
What?
That's like fencing, but they use like broadsword fencing. So it's combat sword fighting, like sport fighting. And I'm gonna be taking my kid to that shit next week. I will have details for that, and I will advertise it.
That's badass.
You're participating, or you're watching?
I'm
someone else
participating.
do it?
I get one free trial. I get a free day. I'm gonna take next week, or bleep that. Take my kid next week, and then we'll report back on how badass it was, and then I'll go every week until I am a sword fighter.
Hell yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that'll be cool.
He's gonna grow like a foot plus and be Yasuke, and
My skin will
he's gonna start going. He's gonna
You
start
might have
spray
a-
tanning a lot. It's constant spray tan.
I will never spray tan.
Just don't let Oda Nobunaga's fucking.
I have so many like
Scrub you.
sun splotch freckles. I almost definitely have skin cancer already. I'm not spray tanning.
Let me introduce you to my parents. They helped me out with this.
Oh, okay. Hell yeah. They've got the secret recipe.
Yeah.
I will say Javon's complexion is beautiful. It's really fucking nice.
You're not even on the couch with him.
I like it.
Ew.
Hey.
Tell her I said hello.
If there is an antagonist in this story, we don't have any historical records of it for a couple of reasons.
They were probably killed.
Well, I don't think so. The reasons are, one, Nobunaga's word is fucking law, right?
They were probably killed.
So, yeah, not falling in line is probably not a great idea. The other reason is that it seems that most of the other samurai in the court genuinely fucking like Yasuke.
He's just a man, huh?
Dude,
Just
like in general,
everybody's
like,
friend.
He spoke their language.
it all just seems pretty cool. Like
Yeah.
he seems pretty rad.
Yeah,
you know?
he spoke their language. He was an affable guy. He was a nice, likable guy in general. He still understood their customs well enough to be well-mannered, and apparently getting to spar against this dude was like in training was like fucking like badass advanced level shit, right?
Right.
A lot of Nobunaga's samurai had already learned a lot of cool fucking moves from Yasuke, and I'm sure he probably added some pretty fucking sweet moves himself, you know?
Yeah, I mean,
this
like
is-
his entire world travel thing. You know,
yeah,
it's-
yeah. So as a unit, having Yasuke there has just made these guys stronger as an entire fucking unit. You know what I mean? Yasuke's presence makes them stronger, and they recognize that.
And like having somebody like that on your team too, especially somebody who'd been already so quickly elevated, that like makes you like, this is the special Yasuke unit.
You are, no shit. You are in an era, the ass end of an era, but you don't know that it's coming to an end soon, of 150 years of fucking constant war, constant battles, constant shit, right? And you've got this guy that's got all this knowledge and all these moves and all this stuff that he knows.
Oh shit! It's
And he can talk to me and tell me how to do it.
Yeah,
And he
for
can
real.
talk to me, and he's a fucking cool guy. Like, he's got some cool fucking stories.
This is Dynasty Warriors.
Like, you in a land where strength right now means everything, you recognize this guy's strength. I don't give a shit who you. I know the movie part of your brain wants to put an antagonist there. Who's like, no, he can't. He's not Japanese. He can't. That, as far as we know, was not
Everyone's
the case.
like, no,
Everybody
fuck
was
yeah.
like, that guy is strong. We need that strength. We want that strength. The stronger we are, the better we are in this era.
And remember that one time I walked into the shower and I saw, gosh, damn, that
Fucking, but like, imagine being on a battlefield and like you've only ever
That's
seen,
intimidating.
you know, short Japanese people.
And then there's
And,
this
like-
giant, there's like this, imagine tens of thousands of troops, right? And fucking a quarter mile across the battlefield,
You can see
you
this
just
looming
see
dark
this
figure.
much of a black head in a fucking armor, just boom, and bodies are flying. And you just
What
see fucking
is that?
blood
Like,
flying. And
what
you're just like,
is
oh
that?
my God.
like in the opening of Lord of the Rings when Sauron is fucking swiping with the Warhammer and everyone, wow.
There it is, first Lord of the Rings. Hey.
Yeah, we didn't get it in the first
We
part.
didn't get it
but
in part
I
one, we
made
got it.
so in the first episode, Patrick, before we started recording, Patrick made a reference to how much research he'd done. He said, I'd really like dug deep into the catacombs or something. And I was like, you're just like Gandalf in
Just
Minas
like Gandalf,
Tirith.
yeah. We weren't recording
So
yet.
I get a Lord of the Rings in every episode. So I fucked that up. But
One of us does. There's
This still
always a Lord
counts.
of the
This still
Rings.
counts as the same episode.
It
so.
does. It does. So as the Lord's Retainer, right? Which is Yasuke's title, right? He's one of Nobunaga's retainers. Yasuke's job is no longer, he's not a bodyguard anymore, right? He's not standing watch and doing security detail, right? We've got people for that shit. Now he's elevated again, like I said. So when we were talking about whether Yasuke knew about this whole, like him going from Valignano to Nobunaga, whether he would have said no, fuck no, or whatever. And I said, fortunately for Yasuke, he was like, oh, hell yeah, let's fucking do it, right? Because he's now elevated. He is making a fuck ton of money. Nobunaga was known for really, like, the guys that were loyal to him got gifts, got money, this is the richest man in Japan.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, he has been elevated to a position that if anybody looked at that kid, on the coast of Mozambique or Ethiopia or Sudan, you would have never, like, if you could see in fourth dimension and just see the trajectory of someone's life, you'd be fucking mind blown.
He's a JC.
At how fucking far he has come, dude.
Fair enough.
Did you say JT?
Jay-Z.
He's a JT.
Jay-Z,
I was like Justin Timberlake?
or JT.
I mean, like, I understand when Mickey Mouse Club was a long time ago. But
If you looked at that boy, Mickey Mouse Club, if you watched him fucking Britney Spears, you would never think. So yeah, Yasuke's job is no longer security detail shit, right? He is a fixture in Nobunaga's court, not only for when guests are there, he's also a consultant with Nobunaga on war shit.
That's the role that I assumed he would take.
This also means that if Nobunaga rides into battle, Yasuke is by his fucking side.
Yep.
So far in this conquest of Japan in the name of reunification, right? Nobunaga has retainers with fiefs and vassals and thousands of men at their command, and they're doing most of the fighting under his flag, right? He really only has a few significant pockets of resistance on Japan's main island, at least in Honshu, right? The Iga clan to the south, in like south of Kyoto, which one of his chief retainers, Hashiba Hideyoshi, takes out pretty quickly, and the Takeda clan to the northeast, which his oldest son Nobutada sieges for a while and takes out. Right, these are like the last big pockets of resistance. Takeda, especially the Takeda clan, there's like a long family history, like clan history between the two of them. That's been going on for like generations, those two clans, right? So after the defeat of the Iga clan, Nobunaga actually rides out to survey the newest part of his domain, right? And this becomes Yasuke's first battle in Japan. I don't know if Iga conjures any thoughts in your brain.
Iga. E-G-A?
Iga clan.
Iga.
I-G-A.
Iga. Hold on a second.
You played some of the newer Zelda games, right?
No, never been a Zelda boy.
No,
sorry. No, it's just not. I get this a lot because I'm a big video game guy.
I can't believe
but
it.
I never got into Zeldas.
God, Breath of the Wild,
like the last Zelda I really enjoyed was on Game Boy.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
I have Breath of the Wild and I played it, but I don't know. It just doesn't.
It didn't. It took me like I played the first time I played it for maybe like an hour or so, and I was like, eh. And then I put it away for a while, and then I came back to it, and I was like, I came back to it because the landscapes and stuff in that game are so Japan, like Japanese like, that I remember sitting there one day. Like I said, I had played it the first time for like hour and a half or so, and I was like, I don't know. This fucking map's so big, and I don't fucking know where. So many places I have to go. It's just too much. It was like a little overwhelming. And then I remember sitting one day and being like, almost feeling like this sense of like I'm missing being in this place that I've never been,
right?
Just because the game itself is so fucking beautiful.
I played
that I was like, I just want to like be on those plains.
I played the less cartoony, more Japanese version of that, Ghost of Tsushima.
Also badass.
Fuck,
yeah.
That game's amazing.
Yeah.
There's a video game where you could just be a samurai, and it's like the expanse of territory you could go is just massive. It's completely open. You just ride a horse. Like, I have spent so much time riding a horse through these open plains and then hopping off to sword fight bandits and shit. It's crazy. And it's hyper realistic and so fucking cool.
Yeah. It's a badass game.
I played through that game all the way twice.
Both of those games.
And I don't play video games very much. I just like to jump in every now and then.
Yeah.
Got like a million unfinished games, but like that one is.
Both of those games, I think, got Game of the Year.
Yeah. Yeah.
when they came out.
Yeah, those. The very small list of game of the years all the time, But yeah,
Right.
it is.
Both of those games got game of the year, but they're just so amazingly well done. But at any rate, in the Zelda games, these last two that came out, there is a clan called the Yiga clan, YIGA, where these guys just pop out of nowhere and like smoke bomb, and they're there and they're attacking you and they're fast and they fucking throw shit.
Oh, the fucking Shinobi.
Yep.
Yeah, I see.
The Iga clan. I think there's also like a Naruto. There's an Iga clan reference in the Naruto series, anime series. But
and then, of course, in the fantastic movie Last Samurai,
they were fabled for their shinobi warriors, right? When Nobunaga and Yasuke and whomever else was riding with them arrive at the Iga castle, there are sort of understandably slain bodies strewn all about in the snow, right? Pretty normal for battles in this place at this time. They're crossing a courtyard that's like littered with just headless corpses and blah, blah, blah. And there's a fucking explosion. Chapter 5, The Explosion. So there's a fucking explosion out of nowhere, right?
Mm.
And Yasuke's kind of like off to the side a little bit. He sees this explosion. Nobunaga's kind of in the middle of it. It's
Tell me he
just
fights a
smoke
fucking ninja
fucking
right now.
everywhere. What?
Tell me he fights a ninja right now.
He does fight a ninja right now.
Oh,
Fuck,
hell
yes.
yeah. This is why I stuck around.
He's completely fucking like, what's going on, right? He starts seeing the bodies of dead people rising out of the snow.
Ooh.
Except they weren't dead people. They were fucking ninjas hidden in the snow.
Awesome.
Waiting to fucking ambush whoever came through that courtyard.
Solid.
Which happens to be Nobunaga. Nobunaga gets thrown from his horse, survives uninjured, pulls his fucking sword, starts yelling to all of his fucking guys that are there, take him out, kill him, whatever. So Yasuke fucking sword out, here we go,
Away
right?
we go, yeah.
So there were, I think, if I remember the story correctly, there were like 8 to 10 ninja that had sort of planned this ambush, really with the idea that they were going to all go for fucking Nobunaga. That's why the explosion went off right next to him, right? They're like the last remaining shinobi of this fucking battle that just took place. So there's not many of them, but
they're
it's
doing like a last ditch.
It's this final strike ambush fucking thing. Everybody there survived. All of Nobunaga's men survived. This is the first time that Yasuke uses that katana to fucking slice some motherfucker's head in half.
Nice.
There's an account of like, guy that's in front of him with the fucking shit, and Yasuke's like, okay, here we go. And fucking cleaves his fucking head.
Nice.
Yeah.
Wow.
So first time he stains his sword with Japanese blood.
Nice. The first fucking Japanese person he kills is a ninja.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Sick.
That is pretty badass.
Sick.
That is pretty badass.
My new hero.
This movie is amazing.
It's very
My new
badass.
hero.
This like rivals the Night Witches in movies. Like
It's right up there with it for
I think,
sure.
John, I don't know if you heard our Night Witches episode.
No.
It was about like badass female Russian pilots in World War II that flew these like janky wooden planes and would only fly at night and like
bomb the
fucking
shit out of
dive bomb the
Nazis.
shit out of Germans. Super cool story, like very cinematic.
Fucking such a cool story.
This
It's
is
such a
on
good
par
episode.
with the cinema.
Yeah. So, that's the Iga clan portion. Like I said, the Iga clan is out. The Takeda clan, Oda Nobunaga, Oda Nobunaga, his Nobunaga's son.
The way you say that has like a Portuguese click to it because of how you roll your R's
Yeah, maybe.
or T's.
So Oda Nobunaga took them out. So there's a third pocket of resistance sort of to the southwest, right? And that's the Mori clan. They normally
MAUR.
Mori, Mori,
Oh,
Mori,
like-
with a little like a little slash above the O,
Okay, so you
like a flat line.
like
Flat line.
Maury.
Mori.
It's like it's just a bunch of old Jewish men.
Get your swords. We're going to battle. Come on.
Aww.
You take it forever.
And get a sweater.
No, we
Can
don't
I
wear.
get the locks nice and lean on the cream
We
cheese?
don't wear the
please?
hats. We don't wear the hats to battle. Put on your armor.
Maury, I've been telling you.
can't
You
wear
gotta
the
have
hat.
it ready.
If you want to, you can put the hat over the helmet. You can't wear it underneath.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
We're the Mori clan.
Wow.
oh my god.
Check, please.
Yes, sir. I'll have your check right.
all together, or are we splitting?
Yeah.
So they normally weren't as heavy on the radar because they kind of oscillated between being diplomatic with the Oda clan and then also like trying to undermine the Oda clan by allying with its enemies. So now,
Playing both sides of the fence.
right now, Nobunaga has defeated and absorbed all of those enemies and like the primary ones, right? And his main focus, that decades-long rivalry with the Takeda clan, is over. So Nobunaga sends the same retainer that defeated the Iga clan, right? That's Hashiba Hideyomi. He sends him to deal with the fucking to the Mori clan, right? So Hideyoshi goes over there. He's laying siege to their main castle. He's got them on the ropes, but he sends a message for additional men because the Mori clan is sending some other dudes from somewhere else to break the siege, right? Bring supplies and stuff like that. Siege battle, I don't know how familiar you are with it, Javon, is basically when you just surround the castle, you surround any of their ways in and out, and you fucking starve people out. Eventually they run out of food, they run out of supplies, they run out of bullets, they run out of arrows, and they either all die inside the walls or somebody comes out and goes, okay, that's enough.
Makes sense because I saw Lord of the Rings.
There you go.
Yeah. Battle of Helm's Deep.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
So
Or Under Siege. You ever saw that
with
one?
Steven Seagal?
Yeah, or Under Siege 2.
With Steven Seagal?
Yes. I think Under Siege 2 is Steven Seagal versus Tommy Lee Jones,
Oh, great.
which is interesting.
Great.
Interestingly enough, I think those take place on a train, not under siege.
The train's not under siege.
Yeah.
So Hideyoshi has this castle under siege. They've blocked all the supply lines, and then he finds out that the Mori clan's got some people coming to sort of try and break the siege, right? So he sends a message, send more guys, right? So that we keep these guys in here and they're going to give up soon. Nobutada sends a couple of generals, but he's like, I'm fucking suiting up and leading this one, right? He's like, tells his generals, get all your men together. We're going to head over there tomorrow. Like, we're all going to meet on the field of battle of wherever the fuck they are, right? So go ahead and set up camp. I'll be there with my group soon. He had about 30 guys, including Yasuke, in his own personal sort of
circle.
Yeah. His own personal little group that he's going
The
with,
personal
right?
guard.
Yes. By the way, he doesn't need to do this. By this point, he's effectively done what he set out to do. It's 1582. He controls 20 of the country's provinces, including pretty much all of the ones like on Honshu, all of the important ones for sure. There's some little outliers like on the coast. But for the most part, he's at
the top of the food chain.
He's got 30+% of Japan in his sort of immediate control.
Yeah, but everybody just wants a little bit more.
Right. Well, but his goal is to reunify all of Japan.
Yeah.
So I mean, eventually, but the more the more people you absorb, the less likely the chances of anybody else getting a fucking shot at the title.
If
is,
you ever
know what
played
I mean?
Risk, it's like that.
Yeah.
I mean,
Gets
you
easier and
got to
easier.
go for it. Was it an Alexander the Great wept because there were no more worlds to conquer?
Right. Exactly. So he doesn't need to do this. He's got all, like I said, all the important provinces in the country, and between that, trade, commerce, all he's made. You know what I mean?
Right.
He's completely fucking made. But he does want to unite the countries, so under his flag. So all right, whatever. Like I said, the rest is going to fall with very little resistance. We know that because they do.
Yep.
He's in his mid to late 40s. He's got a black friend, Like, what else do you need to do?
Top of the food chain, man.
Where do you go
I'm
from
done.
here?
Yeah, he really did it. He really did it.
What else can I accomplish?
He's got one of like 3 people in Japan who are black as like his best friend. Like what do you fucking
Solid.
Where do you
Solid
need to
deal,
go
yeah.
from here, man?
Well, I have a slingshot. Yeah, I got
So apparently he's like, I want to go fight in one last battle. So Yasuke, by the way, at this point has been with Nobunaga for over a year, and he's been in Japan for 3+, right?
Yeah.
On the way west to fight the Mori clan, as is his custom, Nobunaga stopped at the Honoiji Temple in Kyoto, right? Because they're in Azuchi, which is to the east. I think it's kind of in the east-northeast of Kyoto. So you got to go through Kyoto. So he always stops at this temple, which he's set up as sort of his digs while he's in Kyoto.
Right.
So he stopped there. He usually does a little fucking prayer, a little tea service, yada, 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 a little sleepover before heading out the next morning.
Get his head right.
Yeah. The rest of
You want to ride out fresh.
Oh, hell yeah.
The rest of his generals are supposed to go on ahead. One guy, Akachi Mitsuhide, he hangs back. He's gathered all of his men to get ready to go to battle too, except for when they get to the point where the road diverges and one side goes toward where the Mori clan are and the other side goes to Kyoto, he goes toward Kyoto.
And why?
He hasn't really told any of his men what's up. He just goes that way, right?
Mm-hmm.
With several thousand men, right? So they doubled back and marched into Kyoto from the north. And at that point, he tells his men, the enemy is at Honoiji.
Wow.
The temple where Nobunaga is sleeping.
Plot twist.
Oh, shit.
Plot twist.
So the story goes, we don't know why this betrayal happened.
Uh-huh.
The story...
classic Japan
Right.
shit. That's...
So the story goes that Tokugawa Ieyasu, right? You may recognize the name Tokugawa.
Yeah, he was the first shogun of the Tokugawa shogunate.
Tokugawa shogunate.
Yeah.
I
I didn't just look that up. I knew that.
I didn't see the phone in your hand either. So, while we're all lying here, Tokugawa shogunate was the shogunate through all of Edo period Japan. So the Tokugawa government, it's a lot of Japanese movies, anime, stuff like that really talk about Tokugawa a lot. But Tokugawa Ieyasu was one of Nobunaga's retainers. He, I think, is distantly related somehow. There was some shit back in the day where they were enemies, but they end up allying.
Out of convenience?
No. From what we can tell, Ieyasu really leaned in. Like he was like, okay, he's known as one of the three unifiers of Japan, right? There's Oda Nobunaga as the top guy.
Yeah.
There's Toyotomi Hideyoshi, and there's Tokugawa Ieyasu, right? Those are the three guys. The story goes that Nobunaga went to Tokugawa's sort of his province, right? And Tokugawa Ieyasu took fucking such good care of him, gave him so many gifts, took him around, showed him all the stuff, gave him all the history, like just really fucking rolled out. Like I want to say that Ieyasu's territory was where Mount Fuji was inside of his territory, and like to the point where he wanted to take Nobunaga up the mountain and show him all of like these historical places where all this stuff that his family accomplished and battles and all this stuff. He wanted to take him up the mountain, but that was a several day thing, right?
Yeah.
He had his men go, Ieyasu had his men go and build houses
So
for like
stop.
tea ceremonies and stuff all along the way up the mountain so that they could go this far this day and Ieyasu could tell them all the stories and stuff. And then they'd stop and they'd be completely catered to. Tea ceremonies in Japan are very, 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 very big thing.
As a guy personally who loves to go to shit like that, like as will be evidenced on our Patreon episodes, like that sounds like a once in a lifetime. Like we're going up the biggest mountain in Japan. Like this is something that you, as like the aspiring emperor, would be like. This is a huge thing for you. And
so Nobunaga was
Why would you deny this?
Nobunaga was so impressed by this that when he came back home, Ieyasu was supposed to come to Azuchi, where Nobunaga is, and Nobunaga was like, I really have to pull out all the stops. I really have to honor this man. Again, back to this Japanese fucking cultural thing where he honored me so much that I have to extend that, right?
My best foot forward, okay.
So the story goes that when Ieyasu came to Azuchi, right? This guy, Akechi, who was the guy who was about to betray.
I'll
right?
catch you later. Yeah.
He was Akechi, I think is how it's pronounced. I'm sorry, Akechi. So Akechi, they were at like I think his castle or his digs. They were at his digs, and he was supposed to like Nobunaga said, make a fucking feast and make the best feast you've ever been able to make ever. Like
nice.
Everything, dude. Right. And so before Ieyasu got there, Nobunaga went in to go check, didn't like it, and like trashed the fucking place and like threatened Akechi and told him this is unacceptable, blah, 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 whatever. We don't know if that's the reason. Seems like a weird reason to, potentially put your fucking life in danger.
I don't know.
You trashed my kitchen and said my cooking wasn't good, but
it depends on how big of a dick they were. There's a very honor-based
Exactly.
society.
Honor thing, yeah.
It's all about the honor.
Yeah, I feel like if I was like tasked with doing something and really threw myself into it and did what I would say was like an
trashed my stuff,
job, and you came in and fucking trashed it and like spit in my face and insulted me,
yeah,
I'd stab you.
Yeah.
Well,
I think that's a pretty solid. I'll just stab you right there. But I mean, like, I get,
we need to go outside. We need to go outside and talk.
So, like I said, Akachi tells his men the enemy is at Honoichi, right? So, while Yasuke and Nobunaga and 30 or so people slept, Akachi and his men sneaked their way into the temple grounds, basically eliminating guards as they went, right? So they're being as quiet as possible. Yasuke at some point wakes up as the Akachi men are preparing to attack. They've already killed a handful of guards and pages, and now they're like blowing horns to signify like all out attack time, right?
It's go time.
So some of these pages and so these 30 guys, they're all like some of these younger samurai that I was talking about earlier, right? So they hop up and they go, they're trying to engage the enemy, some degree of success, but I mean, it's literally like thousands against 30. You know what I mean? So yeah. So Yasuke, used to his role as bodyguard, runs down the hall to find Nobunaga, right? He eventually finds him, along with like a small contingent of some of these samurai, right? None of them really knowing what's going on.
Right.
They're in the courtyard behind Nobunaga's quarters. So they're only there for a few seconds before everything goes fucking cuckoo bananas.
Right.
The Akachi men open fire on the temple building where Nobunaga's room is. So like gunfire, arrow volleys, screams of men being killed, like volley after volley after volley until they were out of ammunition. Then they burst through with swords and spears. It probably wasn't until that point that they even realized who was attacking.
Ooh.
Wow.
They probably didn't even know at this point because they're kind of in the courtyard behind.
Right.
These guys are fucking going ham on this building thinking they're inside there. And they burst through, right? 100% overwhelmed to the tune of, like I said, several thousand to 30-ish. They do like use choke points like the stairs and hallways and stuff like that. And Yasuke is just fucking chopping men down.
Yeah.
Like just
this is like legendary warrior shit. Like
big, strong in my 20s.
There are accounts of
being
him
tasked with this like ridiculous. Like the whole weight of his entire adventure up to this point is on his shoulders.
But everything seems like he took very like immediately to this sort of code, like this Bushido code of like this honor-based system where this man is the man I mean, he even had that really with Valignano before that. Like, this is the man that I protect. This is the man that I place my, that my sword is for, right?
That's the ultimate level with a fighter, though.
Yeah.
A fighter ultimately wants to be disciplined as possible.
Most of them. I mean, not all of them, but there's some real fucking shitty ones throughout history, but the good ones, yeah. The ones that we relate to, certainly.
Fair enough.
But so there are accounts of him like standing, holding his blade and just surrounded by dead bodies, like covered in fucking blood, just like fucking standing, like I said, a full head higher than anyone else and just
Dynasty Warriors fucking last stand. Like that's
fucking slicing and dicing. So
I also think about with boxers, their arm reach. Right?
So
if the Joker is this big, no one can even come close to him.
His reach plus the sword.
And his katana would have probably been longer than most people's too, just because of his
height.
size.
Because his reach is so much longer.
Because he can support the weight.
So he's got probably 2 feet of like blade reach.
Oh,
how do you fight that? How do you fight that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
if you're spinning, like it's like when Jackie Chan fought in Legend of Drunken Master when all those guys with the hatchets were coming at him.
Yeah.
In the fucking in that restaurant.
I remember.
He's got the bamboo stick and he's like spinning it. Fucking the bamboo stick is making the big circle and slicing their faces.
Stupid. So
waitress, I've been waiting for my check for.
Just bite.
I want to be very clear.
You're down
Here
to
on
10%
Delete
now.
Everything. We are pro Jackie Chan.
We are.
Yeah,
that is true.
Hugely pro Jackie
That
Chan
is
here.
true.
Anti-slavery, pro Jackie Chan.
And against killing babies.
No,
we're
okay with that.
we're okay with that. I'm not going to say we're pro. No, we're not anti. We're definitely not anti killing babies.
Wow, I'm not part of this.
Not
Depends
all
on the
babies. Your enemy's babies.
Yeah.
Still not part
Not
of this
gonna
conversation.
condemn.
Maybe not the babies. The babies aren't going to remember. The children who are old enough to remember what you did.
No, baby's got to go, man. You can't do that because all it takes is like
You take
one
the
like
baby, you raise
errant
it as your own.
nursemaid to be like, they're like, you
He
killed your family. Yeah, exactly. Baby, right? Like grows up to be fucking Lady Snowblood and then just comes for you. That's no good.
You're right.
Personally, still opposed to killing babies.
Okay, to each their own.
Listen, your enemies' children are going to come back for you. That's all I'm saying. You're really putting yourself at risk. So, in spite of the fact that he's holding his blade, just chopping dudes down left and right.
Is that our worst bit? That might be our worst bit.
I know, I love it. That's why it's my favorite bit. In spite of the numbers that he's chopping down, their numbers of of these 30 guys are inevitably fucking dwindling. There's only so many people you can take out. You know what I mean? Nobunaga and his men fucking know that they're gonna die. And they know that it'll be at the hands of Akachi, the fucking traitor. So they push on. They keep chopping down as many troops as possible. Yasuke is just crushing it and taking out fucking wave after wave of samurai. Eventually,
it's crazy.
Yeah. Eventually, the Akachi warriors say, fuck this, and they set the temple on fire.
Yeah, that's what you do.
That's an
an even better scene. That's a more
big thing in
dramatic
Japan.
scene.
Big thing. Fire's a big thing in ancient Japan.
Yeah, they love setting shit on fire. And then
Everything was flammable.
The image
It's
of
made
Yasuke.
it's made of, the walls are made out of paper. Why
Yeah,
not?
exactly. It takes 2 seconds.
Yeah.
Boom.
Wood-
but like
wood
the
and paper,
image
baby.
of Yasuke like dripping blood in a burning house is
Badass. In
cool.
a burning Japanese temple.
Yeah, sick.
With those paper walls just...
Did you ever see Ron? Do you ever see Ariane, the Kurosawa movie? There's this, it's Akira Kurosawa is this like great Japanese director I reference. He did a version of Shakespeare's King Lear called Ron, and it was when Kurosawa was getting old and he was losing his eyesight.
Mm-hmm.
So the entire movie is all colors. Like you'll have armies fighting. It'll be like yellow army versus red army versus blue army.
That's cool.
So that he could see the banners clashing when he's directing.
Visually
But
very
there's
cool.
this massive set piece where he burns down a temple,
Mm-hmm.
and there's rivers of blood coming at it and bodies, and just the fucking visual of
Yeah.
the temple burning is like high fucking Japanese shit.
That's cool shit.
Yeah.
Like I said, eventually the Akachi warriors set the temple on fire, still with soldiers bursting in with swords and spears. At some point, Nobunaga takes an Akachi arrow, I think in the leg, and they fall back into one of the rooms. So he's kind of like, he's commanding the last maybe 10, 15 men to rally around him. While this is all going on, some of the other Oda retainers, like including Nobunaga's son, Nobutada, hear like the sounds of, they're not that far away. They hear the sounds of battle. They see the fucking fire. There's obviously people running down the streets, yelling about fighting at the temple. And, they're within a few miles of the temple. And, obviously this kind of news travels pretty quickly in peaceful, 10 years now of peaceful Kyoto.
Right.
Right. They haven't had shit like this go down in a decade plus. So,
Hey, the countryside of Japan, not known for its being super loud. I don't think, so.
right. So some of them join the fray. They
You might hear like
Karate chop.
that's pretty much it.
Yeah. Karate chop. So some of them join the fray. They're trying to take out the Akachi soldiers to get to Nobunaga. Nobutada, aware that his father is probably dead or unreachable at this point, musters his 300 men to find a place to make a final stand, right? Because he believes his father, again, is either dead or not long for this world, right?
Reasonable exception. Assumption.
Which means he is immediately the head of the Oda clan for however long that lasts, and he's going to be the next one being attacked. You know what I mean? So Nobunaga, as this fire grows, Nobunaga is injured, and he knows he's not going to make it out of this fucking temple alive. He decides to preserve his honor by committing seppuku, right? There's only in this room Nobunaga, Yasuke, and Nobunaga's favorite page, a young man by the name of Ranmaru, right? They're the only three in this room.
Ranmaru sounds familiar too.
Maybe. They're the only three in this room. The other samurai are trying to fight back the men from outside the room, and they're trying to keep this room closed, right? And the ones that can fight are still fighting. Some of them are being slain. Some of them have probably committed seppuku. So Nobunaga puts his fucking short sword to his belly and instructs Yasuke before he plummets it into his fucking shit to make sure that his head and sword get to Nobutada. Right?
God damn.
in this era of
I know it was very common
of Japanese warfare, the head of your slain enemy is a bit like when like all this with the Takeda clan and the Iga clan and the Mori clan and all this shit. Every time they had a fucking successful battle, all of those heads, the head of the daimyo, all of his fucking retainers, everything go back to Azuchi Castle, where they're all put on display, right?
Dang.
Having the head of your slain enemy is a very, very, very powerful fucking visual of, I beat him. I have his head that's not on his body anymore, sitting in my fucking temple. Come look at it.
That's my shit.
That's pretty intense.
Exactly. Yeah. So he knows that if Akachi gets his, not just his head, but his katana, that's a very fucking powerful symbol of Nobunaga's defeat at Akachi's hands.
Gotcha.
Right?
Gotcha. Okay.
Cowardly bullshit defeat, but sure.
I mean, but like I said, during this time, the head of your vanquished enemy is proof that you have bested him in legitimate combat, and Yasuke knows that too. So clearly he's on board if he can fucking get out.
Right.
But Nobunaga's got his fucking short sword to his belly, looks at him and says, "My head and my sword, you need to get them to Nobutada." And Yasuke's like, "Okay." So,
fucking bummer, but all right, here we go.
Yeah, Nobunaga drives his fucking sword in his belly with Ranmaru acting as his second. So that's after you put it in your belly, you slice, right? And then you have a second who cuts your head off.
Okay.
Right? So Nobunaga, by the way, dude, there's a fucking... Dude, the Japanese are so fucking... There's like so much discipline and everything. There's a way that you cut the head off, right?
Mm.
You have to cut well enough and deep enough, but stop shy of slicing the front of the neck.
Right.
So you leave these two tendons right here intact so that the head doesn't hit the floor. It just flops down to the front, against your chest.
Wow.
And then you take your sword and you take the top knot and you just cut that last little bit from the front. That way you hold the head. The head never hits the floor. Think about the fucking precision.
Yeah.
The amount of practice you have to do.
The precision to do that is fucking incredible.
Yeah, that's wild.
So Ranmaru, acting as his second, fucking does exactly that. Wraps his head. It takes his vest off, wraps the head, hands it to Yasuke. Right. There's a lot of sort of these cultural sort of niceties that have to go. The exchange of the head was like, Yasuke understood the significance of it. There's a story about him getting on his knees and bowing as deep as he can as the head's handed over. Ranmaru bowing back to him.
Seems like a lot to do inside of a burning building.
Inside of a burning building.
As
But
people are
this
trying
is
to kill
how,
me.
Yeah, well,
this
people
is
are
how
still charging
this
us.
is how fucking disciplined the Japanese are. Is like this is how we
It's
do it.
It's in my head in the head movie in the movie. I'm like, okay, guys, like this is.
I almost feel like
this is an exploded moment that really can't be afforded in this battle scene.
I almost feel like this is so culturally ingrained that were the fucking Akachi soldiers to burst into the room at that moment,
they would
stop and go, they're in the middle of it.
Be like,
Nobunaga's dead.
They're
in the middle of it. They would probably. I mean, I don't know for sure. Again, I'm not an expert, but I feel like this is just such a fucking... In Japan, even to this day, the way you do it is the way you do it. There are no shortcuts. It's just the way it is, man.
That's just the way it is.
So
anyone that has the wherewithal to not only stab themselves, but then complete the slice.
Yeah. Crazy, right?
That's crazy.
It takes some fucking
the
solid
whole thing
steel
is that
clackers.
what you want to do is you want to get the penetration, right? I think it's start at up top.
Great penetration.
Start up top, maybe down and then to the side, or is it side and then up?
I've seen
because you want to
in
make
and
up. You want
I've
to make
seen in and side.
While still cutting the intestines, you want to make a flap, and then you want to pull out some of your intestines.
Oh,
Or
damn
just
it.
pull the flap up.
Or
and
just
go,
pull the flap, woohoo, and then you just like fucking you do the cut and then you open it so that your guts spill,
I did it wrong.
and
So-
then that's when they fucking do the
Jesus
cut.
Christ. So yes, like I said, all the sort of cultural, necessary things for the exchange take place. Yasuke, ties the package with the head in it to his belt, and Ranmaru asks Yasuke before he leaves if he'll do him the honor of acting as his second.
Damn.
As he has
He's
lost,
like, okay, I don't have any room for another head.
as he has lost honor by failing to protect his lord. He says, "Will you please be my second?" Right?
Yasuke's
So-
like, well, who's going to be my second?
So Yasuke obliges, right? By this point, the temple is fucking collapsing, and Yasuke knows where Nobunaga is. It's just like a matter of getting there, right? He does the whole fucking thing, just slices the same way, does the whole thing. He puts the head next to Nobunaga's body, and then they fucking temple's collapsing. So
yeah, it's just been on fire for 20 minutes while
Yeah,
they're doing these
exactly.
ceremonies.
there
Goddamn.
there are still about 10 Oda samurai fighting in the courtyard, right? They burst.
They're all like, they've been back there a while.
They burst through the door, and they very quickly understand the situation, right? Knowing that Yasuke has the best chance of getting to Nobunaga, they attack to try and provide cover for Yasuke to get out. And, get...
It's like, quick, send the most easily distinguished figure in the entire country. The tallest or most specific looking person in the country.
Or the tallest, fastest, strongest dude who will probably chop some fucking heads off on the way through.
I assume you could probably outrun some of those guys, yeah.
Probably. I mean, just
I don't know,
by
in Japanese they got a bongo feet thing. And it's like,
Gosh damn it. Gosh damn it.
It's
God.
just
you
by,
ever watch an old samurai movie, dude? That's how they fucking run.
just
They
by
do this-
sheer height. Just by sheer height,
my
he's got them
gosh.
probably.
Oh
beat
yeah,
on
he
speed.
can sprint. That's
You're
gonna beat.
fucking. You got a
One step
You've got
for
a
their
foot
11.
race. A foot race between a 4'11" guy and a 6'2" guy.
Yeah.
Who are you taking?
I'm as a 5-something guy. I'm not
Yeah.
voting on the little guy.
So
The continent is
just by
known for winning some races.
length of leg, limb length alone. I mean, you got an extra probably foot per stride, if not more. So anyway, they decide, okay, we're going to provide cover for Yasuke to escape with Nobunaga's head and katana. Right. So there's this story of him coming out of the burning building and encountering 3 Akachi soldiers who are absolutely fucking shitting beans at the sight of this dude.
Wait.
Who was the giant black man covered in blood carrying a human head that just emerged from a burning building?
with the head in a package tied to his fucking waist. Jesus Christ, standing a foot plus above them, covered in blood, and
Plus the size of his dick.
Yeah, plus, he pulled his dick out for extra leverage in this situation.
Look at this motherfucker.
The first person he just thwaps with it.
He has 2 swords.
According to the legend, he is standing there, covered in blood, building burning behind him, holding this fucking katana, fucking head wrapped at his waist, and he looks at them and he says, "Yasuke de gozaru," which means I am Yasuke, and fucking proceeds to just
Walk.
annihilate these dudes.
Hell yeah.
All 3 of them, like pop, 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 done, killed him. Right.
That's cool because, also traditionally all around the world, maybe this is something that, I don't know if he got this from being in Japan, but like just saying your name in battle, your own name in battle is a big thing. That's like biblical. The Archangel Michael in the Bible, his name was like the battle cry for like the fucking the heavenly battle and shit.
Really?
Like, yeah, just screaming your own name
That's awesome.
Is a big thing.
You will know who killed you before
exactly.
they kill you.
Very much so.
Yeah, that's a big fucking thing.
Yeah.
And
They already know who,
And then, but then,
who he is.
but just the.
Oh, but Aquaman.
But if he got that from like a different culture, like the fucking saying your own name in battle, and then he applies it to having like his new Japanese name in Japanese, like that's fucking cool.
I mean, they were already on the back
That's
foot.
a great moment because
fucking...
in the early part of the movie, in the Samurai Jack segment where he's learning all these different skills, that he would have learned to like say his name at like the end game of the battle, and then move forward 2 hours into the movie, and he's doing that. That's cool.
Damn. So
that would have been like it's a closing moment of like, oh, he's found himself.
So
he knows what name to call.
By the way, Yasuke does find his way out of the temple.
Of course he does.
He gets away from the temple only to find that there are Akachi troops patrolling the street, fanning out to find any Oda soldiers, the guys that were trying to get to Nobunaga. Like they're out on a mission, right? There are hundreds of these dudes.
So he just decides to stroll casually, whistling.
Who, me? No, Yasuke. No, I'm not.
No. Hey, I'm just out for dinner. I don't know.
I'm Frank.
Yeah.
This isn't a head.
If they say something to him, you could just be like, "Black man can't walk down the motherfucking street."
Racist motherfuckers.
Oh God.
I ain't doing shit.
Check, please.
So why are you stopping me?
Check, please.
Oh fuck.
So like I said, all these Akachi troops are patrolling the streets, and they're also regrouping to march north and fight Nobutada, who found his little place where he's going to do his last stand, right? So he knows where Nobutada is. He's got to fucking run there. He's got to avoid the streets as much as possible, and he's got to try and beat the fucking Akachi soldiers there, right? Which is, you've got to be exhausted. Smoke inhalation, fighting dozens of guys, you know, like, you got to be
fighting for your life, not just fighting.
Right. Absolutely fighting for your fucking life.
I will say this run though is a pretty sick third act like battle continuation. Like keeps up the intensity of the fighting while still giving you like a cooldown period between actual combat. It's not bad. They did that in the movie 1917.
He manages to get there by like jumping fences and running through people's fucking houses,
Ferris Bueller,
across their roofs, through the gardens, just like Ferris Bueller.
Boom, 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 boom. So by the way, he's running through a temple. Like smells delicious.
This is like 5-6 o'clock in the morning. So he's bursting through people's homes.
Oh, so it was dark when the fucking temple was burning and shit. Now it's dawn.
Yes. Yeah. This didn't happen during the day.
Shit writes itself.
I know,
Probably a few screams.
Oh yeah.
So he gets to Nobutada, who's preparing himself to fight, probably to the death. And he's like literally like 100 yards in front of the Akachi soldiers, right? Again, according to the legends and the stories and stuff, Nobutada is standing on the temple wall and sees him sprinting toward the castle, dodging like arrows and fucking Akachi soldiers shooting guns at him and shit. He's just all out fucking sprint.
Mm-hmm.
And he sees the package on his waist and he knows, you know what I mean? Like he's aware. So they open the castle gate just enough it's not even a castle. It's like a temple.
Right.
It's not really a place to make a stand, but it was the closest place that had the best sort of chances,
walls,
the best odds.
Walls.
Yeah.
They weren't paper.
Right. So exactly. So they open up the gate a little bit, just enough for him to come out. They close it, and they've got about 1 minute to fucking perform again all these cultural pleasantries of transferring Nobunaga's remains. The sword.
He comes in sweating, dripping blood, wild-eyed,
bow,
and they're like,
"Oh my God, Jesus."
The transfer. He's like, mushy, mushy.
So yeah, he's got to give all this shit over to Nobutada, who has like zero fucking time to grieve before trying to defend this building that, again, like the Honoiji, the temple where Nobunaga died, right? It's not made to withstand an attack of this nature, you know? So I would love to say the extra troops that Nobutada had and the advance notice versus the surprise attack were the difference maker. But the truth is it wasn't more than like 30 minutes before Nobutada was also committing seppuku.
God damn.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm.
Gee, why did he even bother with the fucking head then?
Thank you.
The heads and the weapons of both Nobunaga and Nobutada were hidden away so they could be retrieved by loyal vassals after the dust had settled, right? As for Yasuke, he is part of a very small contingent of Oda warriors still fighting, but very, very, very fucking quickly dwindling.
Yeah, very tired at this point, I'd imagine.
Yeah. So fortunately, the Azuchi men have never fought Yasuke, even though they were allies. Most of the guys that would spar against him were sort of part of the inner circle, right?
Right.
These guys have seen him. They know, hey, there's that giant black dude. But they've never had to fight him. So they were like, they're fucking standing there face to face with Nobunaga's giant black god man, and they just don't have the fucking stones for it. You know what I mean? Like
they're like, I don't think so. I don't know.
Yasuke is eventually surrounded by men with spears. Again, just surrounded by fucking bodies of the men he's claimed. We don't know exactly how many people he killed that day. At the minimum, it was like 15. I've seen some accounts that say 30. I've seen some accounts that say 100. But 15 is still not a bad day.
15 is pretty good.
Mono a mono without a gun.
Yeah.
That's more than impressive.
Sword fight is
15
not
is not a bad day.
bad. That's a good, like,
Yeah.
you could go
And
into
15 is like the minimum.
You could go into a full-on like battlefield and
Yeah.
kill like 3
Yeah.
people. Like that's
Exactly.
Absolutely. and by the way,
You'd
and,
be a badass.
and
to
you
do that,
you're one of the you're on the top of the stats.
Yeah, because the whole thing with open warfare is that okay, if each one of us kills one of them instead of them killing them,
Yeah.
then we win.
You're right, exactly.
Yes.
If you kill 2 guys, you just increased our odds a bunch. Thanks. So, like I said, we don't know. We'll probably never know. But every warrior, no matter how fucking strong or well trained or fit or well rested, well fed, there's a point where you can't fucking go any longer.
Yeah.
Everybody has that fucking
Yeah, it's
the
like
wall.
Ken
You hit the
Watanabe
wall.
in The Last Samurai.
You're human.
Everybody hits the fucking wall. So Yasuke eventually drops to his knees and is overwhelmed and fade to black.
Why that choice of word?
Yeah, no pun intended.
Yeah.
Well, because he loses consciousness and he wakes back up.
The
shit.
plot thickens.
He passed out. He wakes up with 5 soldiers holding him down, an angry Akachi soldier demanding that he surrender his sword. He doesn't really have a fucking choice because he's got like 0 strength left.
He's like, hey, I like this sword.
He probably, even without the 5 guys on top of him, probably would have been like, "Oh, just be here for a second, please. Just shh, give me a sec." But yeah, he's got no fight left. He gets up onto his knees, hands the sword up to the soldier, the sort of like bowed head, sword up, and bows his head to expose his neck, thinking, this is the end. I'm getting decapitated, right? As is tradition. I didn't commit seppuku in time, so now they get to do it.
Nothing dishonorable about this particular loss,
No.
Fought to the end.
But he's seen it. He knows it's the custom, and he signed up for it. So he waits for a blade that actually never falls. What do you think? I'll just do a little theory time.
Because everyone's
I've
like,
never seen anything
this
like
guy's real cool.
We want to be friend with you, Barakaman.
Come hang with us.
Jeez.
You are our friend now.
Jesus. It's still.
So the reason, as far as anyone can tell, is Akachi has his camp set up nearby, and he wants to see Yasuke, right? He wants to know where the fucking hell Nobunaga's head is.
Oh, yeah. Because he's like the last guy.
Somebody saw him running with the package and reported that shit back. So he wants to know where in the fuck is this head? To which Yasuke responds,
I've got a head for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hit these nuts, motherfucker.
You haven't even seen the Black God yet.
Doo-doo, doo-doo, doo-doo.
Whip it out. Smoke bomb. So,
Karate chop.
so that would be the coolest move ever. You go to whip out your dick and it's actually a smoke bomb. It's like, check this out, smoke bomb, and then you're gone. I'm gonna keep smoke bombs in my underwear from now on. So Yasuke's like, I don't know, which is technically not a lie. He doesn't know. He handed it over to Nobutada. I have no idea. I handed it over to his son. You killed his son. Ask the dead guy, I guess.
None of my goddamn business. I don't know.
Or hey, maybe it's in that big ass fire you set. I don't go look in there.
Yeah, maybe it burned down to the temple, jerk.
Yeah. So again, Yasuke's kneeling there, waiting for the death sentence, and it does not come. Akaji tells one of his samurai, "This man isn't Japanese. He has no honor, or he'd be dead already. Get this black beast to the temple of the southern barbarians."
Damn. Instantly racist.
Racist,
Right?
That is fucked up. Like that
Racist
whole shit.
motherfucker.
Probably-
right away, too. He's like, you know what? Black. Get the fuck out of here.
Probably the only time in Japan that he has been, like, his blackness has been referred to as a bad
And he's
thing.
like, whoa, what?
He's like, I've been here for 3 years and no one said anything like that. Come on, man.
Everything was cool. He was like being cool. One time he says no.
Only takes
like,
one guy to ruin it for the rest of the class. Jesus.
Fuck.
What'd you call me?
Black Beast? About to see the beast, dog. Smoke bomb.
Karate chop.
Karate chop. So he and by the way, the Temple of the Southern Barbarians is his reference to the Jesuits, right?
Also a sick name for a band.
Temple of the Southern Barbarians?
Yeah.
That is a pretty cool band name.
So man, now it makes me think of Temple of the Dog.
So, by the way, despite all this fucking, pompous bullshit, Akachi also knows, like, the Jesuits are too important as allies, and they don't know how attached or not attached to Yasuke they are.
Mm-hmm.
He knows that Akachi was part of those retainers that were sitting in the room with Nobunaga when Yasuke met him for the first time. So Akachi knows where he came from, how he got there. He knows that he's better off with the Jesuits as allies than as enemies, right? Because they control a fuck ton of commerce and trade.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And he's like, I don't fucking, if I kill this guy, are they going to be, I already killed Nobunaga, which is probably not going to go over great with them. Now, if I kill this guy,
he's surviving because they don't understand what he is.
Right.
They don't know what his level of power is or where he's coming from or anything like that.
Akachi does not rule for long.
Well, because he sounds like a little bitch.
Yeah, he's not a leader.
Sounds like a traitorous little fuckbag.
For starters, not having Nobunaga or Nobutada's heads delegitimizes his claim, right? Who's to say they're not just on vacation?
Right. Yeah.
Who's to say they didn't just go, and now all of a sudden you're like, I'm in charge, right? Secondly, Oda Nobunaga had some very fucking faithful allies, specifically
having unified half the country.
Yeah. Specifically, Hashiba Hideyoshi and Tokugawa Ieyasu.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, you don't know Hashiba Hideyoshi's name, but you know what his name became. It's Toyotomi Hideyoshi. The Toyotomi government.
Oh, okay.
Which is the Toyotomi. That was the Toyotomi clan was who finished unifying Japan.
Yeah, that's the big one.
Wow.
Didn't rule for long. Tokugawa was the first one to retake the shogunate, right? Toyotomi never did. He just finished warring and absorbing the rest of Japan, right? But the Toyotomi government and the Tokugawa government, like I said, both pretty well known names. These are the dudes that finished sort of Nobunaga's vision of a unified Japan, right? Peaceful Japan. You want a cool little tidbit?
Please,
I love
please.
tidbits.
Akachi launched this attack knowing that Tokugawa Ieyasu, right? Probably one of Nobunaga's most staunch supporters.
Yeah.
The one who took him up the mountain and who Nobunaga came and he did the whole fucking rolled out the red carpet. After visiting Azuchi Castle, where Nobunaga was, he actually sent some of his men to go take Ieyasu just around the lands and show him everything, right? So Ieyasu's kind of like on a little vacation with Nobunaga's guys.
Distracted during this whole shit.
Akachi knew that he wasn't anywhere near his men. He had a small contingent. He had some of Nobunaga's men showing him around, showing him the sights, right? We're going to Kyoto. We're going to Osaka. We're going to we're going to go down to the coast. We're going to see all the things, right? So he knew that as part of this gift, Ieyasu was not going to be around. So Akachi wanted to catch him and dispose of him before Ieyasu could get back. But Ieyasu hired one of the Iga clan. And so after Akachi defeats Nobunaga, he's like, I've got to take this guy.
Right. So he hires a ninja.
I've got to take Ieyasu Tokugawa out before he can get back to his lands because he's got to pass through Kyoto, right?
Right.
So Ieyasu hires one of the Iga clan ninja who had very recently been fighting Nobunaga to get him home undetected. That ninja's name, Hattori Hanzo.
Oh shit!
How fucking cool is that?
Hey, that is cool.
That's another very
famous Japanese name.
Name.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Did you ever see Kill Bill?
Yeah.
Yeah. Tori Hanzo.
Oh, yeah.
Remember the sword that she wants?
Yeah. Okay.
That's a tribute name. It's
she
not
needs
like
Hanzo, a blade, Hanzo steel.
Yep.
Yeah. Hattori Hanzo, that he didn't make swords as far as I'm aware.
Fun fact, in the movie Kill Bill, Hattori Hanzo is played by the actor Sonny Chiba.
Yeah, I remember.
Who is famous for the movie The Street Fighter, wherein they would do a cool X-ray shot every time he hit somebody, and it would show all the bones breaking. Yeah. And he was real good at the karate chop.
Yeah, karate chop.
It's like he'd hit somebody in the top of the head or something, and it would cut to like an X-ray shot. And it would just show the neck like crumpling. Clack.
Yeah, like all the bones breaking.
So good.
That's awesome.
So
it was
very
awesome. Cool. So what Hattori Hanzo actually did, Kill Bill.
I want to watch some fucking kung fu movies after this.
Same.
Yeah, right.
So Hattori Hanzo, after all this goes down, he becomes a Tokugawa general and helped Tokugawa Ieyasu finish uniting Japan after a few years of Toyotomi rule, where Toyotomi Hideyoshi closed the borders of Japan out of concern for Christian influence on Japanese culture and politics. He gave the Jesuits 20 days to leave Japan. This is in 1587. And this paved the way for the Tokugawa shogunate to outlaw Christianity and close the borders to outsiders and be completely isolationist from 1603 to 1765, which is the Edo period, which is not entirely accurate because the Sakoku edicts, like this, the strict isolation. So in 1587, Toyotomi was like, you guys got to get the fuck out of here, right?
Right, yeah.
And he gave them, like I said, 20 days to get the fuck out of Nagasaki. They got the fuck out of Nagasaki begrudgingly and not entirely, but this sort of starts this isolationism. The actual like Sakoku edict was in 1635. That is when it became like a nope.
Yeah, that's an iron curtain. Shut that shit
Portuguese
down.
gone.
Yeah.
There was one island off of Nagasaki that they allowed the Dutch to trade, but you had to like cross a bridge and like you couldn't, if you weren't Japanese, you couldn't come back. You had to have like papers as a Japanese person to go over.
There's a great book called The 1,000 Autumns of Jacob de Zoet that's is written by David Mitchell, the guy who did Cloud Atlas. It's a historical fiction novel, but it's all based on that island, and it has to do with like the Dutch East India Company's like interaction with Japan.
Yeah,
fucking cool book. Yeah, like 1,000
by the
pages,
way,
really good.
By the way, one of the very interesting, because you brought up execution of Christians. So in 1596, right? So Hideyoshi Toyotomi's already in power here, and there was a Spanish treasure galleon that sunk or wrecked on Japan's coast, right? And so
like I could see like a cool fucking National Treasure movie happening because of that.
The cargo
Spanish gold on Japanese shores.
Right. The cargo and the crew, the local daimyo went and sort of like captured all these people, and the guy, the pilot of the ship, started talking about the Portuguese Jesuits and sort of the way that they operated in the rest of the world and how they sort of destabilized places and, blah, blah, blah. At the time, Portugal and Spain were both ruled by the same king. Right? It was just one empire there. So Hideyoshi, pretty much having had enough at this point and getting this extra news, like, oh, these guys aren't just doing this cutesy missionary work and opening orphanages and stuff. They go in, what was the quote? Like lambs and rule like wolves.
That's right.
Yeah. So he spills the beans, and Hideyoshi executes 26 Christians by crucifixion.
Ooh,
Yep.
ooh.
Classy.
Hey, this is what you know.
Spanish,
what you do, man.
Portuguese, converted Japanese, like Christians.
Yeah.
It was not like we're just you guys from the ship. No, it was like round up some fucking
Yeah,
Christians.
that kind of stuff continues on because like Christians still like persistently try and do conversions and colonies through Japan for the next like 50 years until eventually they're like, okay, we get it. But there's this great book. It's called Silence by Shusaku Endo. Shusaku Endo. There's also adapted as a movie directed by Martin Scorsese. That's about Portuguese priests like going to Japan to try and convert people, but at the same time, the Japanese government rounding up like hidden Christians and forcing them to proselytize or die under torture. And they've got some examples of like Christians being boiled in natural hot springs.
Yeah, there's a lot
or
of
being crucified on the coast so that waves batter them with salt water for days until they're like essentially disintegrated.
Held
Pretty
over,
fucked up. Yeah.
Suspended over sulfur
That's a good one.
springs. So that like they were
That's
like
dirty.
almost suffocated, and then they'd bring them back so that they could breathe air.
That was the thing.
again,
Yeah, you'd bring them
and
right
then
to the
just put them back.
bring them right to the brink
and then
put 'em
back,
back.
and then put them back.
There's,
and then back, and then put them back.
the one-
not for torture for intel, just to show everybody what we'll do.
Yeah, the one that's exemplified the most in the book, which is a historical fiction novel again, but it's also like heavily researched and all of the examples are taken from real history, and it's like real time and place shit. But they do a thing where they hang Christians upside down and put their heads in pits and like close like these wooden slats around their head so it's total darkness. But they'll do a cut right near like the top of the neck, near like under your ear, so that the blood won't like gather in your head and you'll survive. So they can do it. They can do it for like weeks.
Jesus.
Wow.
Yes, just one drip of blood relieving pressure over time. Yeah.
God.
Then they take you out, feed you, do it again.
Oh boy, that doesn't sound fun.
Oof.
But yeah, so that's
Japan's a nightmare. What
listen, we
Well,
could,
hold on
we
a second.
could
What
go
happened to-
down the list.
do we got? What happened to Yasuke?
So there are some theories, right?
I do like that this kind of ends ambiguously as theories.
So
That's
yeah,
fucking solid.
so our main character, what the fuck happened to him? The honest, quick answer is we have no fucking idea.
No idea.
I have no idea, right?
I do.
First, yeah. So for starters, just as a little bit of a final nail in the coffin of Akachi, Tokugawa Ieyasu was not who took him out. It was Toyotomi Hideyoshi. We'll just refer to him as Hideyoshi, right? That's the same guy that took out the Iga clan, right? That is the same guy who, at the time, he's Hashiba Hideyoshi. He becomes Tokugawa or Toyotomi Hideyoshi. I don't know what the whole thing with them changing names is. I'm sure there's an explanation. I didn't, but it's very common. It's very common.
I wanted to say that I have not been able to hear you say Tankichi one time throughout the course of this episode without thinking of the Japanese stuffed monkey toys
Say what?
Monchichi. Tankichi? The tribe that we were talking about. Kankichi?
What?
Who the fuck were the ones who just killed Nobunaga?
Oh, Akachi.
Akichi.
Akachi.
Akachi. But every time you said their name, I thought of Monchichis.
Oh.
The Japanese monkey toy from the 80s.
What a connection.
Yeah. Every time he said it, every time I was like, Monchichis.
So yeah, Hashiba Hideyoshi, who was the guy that took out the Iga clan, who was the guy who was sieging the Mori clan and asked for reinforcements.
How did the Mori clan fare? They good? Like, hey, we're just the
Oh
Moris.
no,
Over
they lost.
Oh, they lost.
The
No,
Moris.
we were the Moris.
Gosh damn it.
Listen, we're still the Moris. It's fine. We're just with Nobunaga now. It'll be okay.
Motherfucking check.
Finish your juice.
So we're just recapping. We're just recapping everybody, like writing the little subtitles at the end.
But
Like the Mori clan.
but here's the other interesting
We're all
thing.
pushed off a cliff.
So what are these theories about where he?
Here's
where
the
he
other.
went?
Well, we're just doing the end cap on the actual politics or the. all the
Javon's
stuff.
like, it is hot as fucking here.
I'm curious about this guy now.
No, we're. I promise we're getting there. So Hideyoshi was also like Ieyasu, Tokugawa. Those were really the two guys that were like pretty loyal through the end to not just Nobunaga, but to his vision and everything, right? So,
Okay.
so Hideyoshi to the point where like Hideyoshi started out as like a poor he didn't come from any sort of lineage. He was a fucking poor commoner who he was hired as Nobunaga's sandal boy. He was just the guy who
Sandal boy.
brought the sandals to him.
It's a whole job.
Here's your sandals. And he elevated from that all the way up to one of his chief fucking retainers.
If you bring me my sandals, we're
It'd be
cool.
tight, it'd
We're
be
cool.
tight, yeah. I do
he worked his way
picture
up.
I do picture him like sadly saying, "Here's your sandals" every time. Here's your sandals. That's my day.
That's not how you elevate.
Yeah, I mean, so
Here,
you
your
want to talk
sandals.
about you want to
Then
talk
you gotta
about
follow him around until maybe he takes them off for a second. You gotta pick him up.
you want to talk about you started off as a fucking poor commoner. You impressed this guy enough to start training,
Yeah.
become a samurai,
Yeah.
end up being one of his lords with a fucking fief and vassals and probably a marriage to some other fucking lord's daughter or sister or whatever. He ain't the one, bro. He turned the fuck around. Like once it took a couple days between when this happened and the word got to Hideyoshi and he was like, pack it up. We're going fucking back, dude. And yeah, I know you like that reference.
Yeah.
Pack it up. Pack it up.
Back it up. Shut it down.
Shut it down. So he comes back, fucks Akachi's entire army up in like
Hell
2
yeah.
hours.
That's my dude.
Fucked him up, right? He probably, had he lived longer, would have become the next shogun. But, he continued sort of battling and uniting Japan and blah, blah, blah. And then eventually, Ieyasu Tokugawa ended up being the first real shogun in like 100 and something years, right?
Sick.
the real effective one. So anyway, Hideyoshi actually, so when it came to the lineage of Oda Nobunaga, he had 2 other sons, right?
Yeah.
For whatever reason, when it came to lineage, there was something about one of the sons was kind of not very well liked, and I don't know about the other son. Maybe he was just too young. I don't fucking know. But either way, they gave the lineage to Nobutada's son.
Oh shit!
Nobunaga's grandson.
Damn.
Right?
Oh.
Who was like 2 years old. He became the head of the Oda clan.
Oh, because Nobutada was the head of the Oda clan for like an hour.
Yeah, 30 minutes.
Yeah, and then it fucking lopped. So, but yeah,
So
but
he was the rightful heir.
He's the rightful heir. Like, that is the lineage. That is what it is.
Yeah,
Fucking-
I mean, so yeah, Hideyoshi actually ran the Oda clan for years after this whole like Akachi betrayal, right? That head of household was passed to Nobutada's 2-year-old son instead of one of his brothers. So Yasuke is technically a Ronin now. He is a samurai without a master.
Or technically, I guess you could say, since he lost in battle, he's a disgraced samurai, so he might be a Yojimbo.
Is that a real word?
Yeah, a Yojimbo. Well, so there's this movie. So the Yojimbo is a wandering,
There's always a
masterless
movie with this
samurai.
one.
You know, he comes through this town. There are 2 warring factions. There's also an Akira Kurosawa movie, and then he plays 2 sides. Oh, it's the movie A Fistful of Dollars. If you ever saw it,
Yeah.
it's that. Except it was a Japanese movie first.
Okay. All right. Fuck yeah.
Hey.
Well, so
I didn't react. I just watched. I wasn't.
Yeah.
So yeah, so Yasuke wanted to go and be part of Hideyoshi. He was hoping to serve Hideyoshi.
Also, the Bruce Willis movie Last Man Standing.
Cool. He was hoping to go serve Hideyoshi, who's now in charge of the Oda clan, right? Because he was part of the Oda clan. He never got called up by Hideyoshi. I don't know that there was any bad blood there. I don't think there was.
Maybe it was just more of like, hey, listen, that was Obunaga's thing. Like, that's not,
Yeah, well,
like, you're not my guy.
Or maybe it was just, maybe it was, I don't know. I really don't know.
You-
Maybe
you can't serve 2 masters, right?
Yeah.
Well, maybe after, being caught and returned to the Jesuits and, it doesn't seem like Hideyoshi has a lot of love for these Catholic fucking missionaries.
Right.
Maybe he's just like, he was good for the time that he was here, but he might be a liability. I don't know what.
Even more, it might have been just like, you were supposed to protect Obunaga.
Or that.
And you fucked
Or
up.
that. So we will never know. But anyway.
Yeah, it's like, you should be, if he's dead, you should be dead.
Yeah. Well, so what happened to Yasuke? We know for sure he was stuck at the Jesuit mission there in Kyoto for a few months, right? He had no warlord to serve. The Jesuits didn't really want him showing his face and causing any kind of static. Like, it's very much like cool down time right now. You know what I mean? Like, we don't need you starting shit by just being seen. Like, we don't need any reminders of this shit. We're trying to smooth this shit over, right?
Yeah.
And having a guy who was literally with Nobunaga in his last fucking minutes, maybe we just don't do that, right? So he was there for a few months. He eventually made his way back to Nagasaki, where he became a soldier again, training new soldiers to defend Nagasaki because war hasn't really gotten there yet, right?
Yeah.
And Nagasaki, like I said earlier, I think in part 1, is very much commerce-wise. The Jesuits have their hand in everything. Commerce-wise, political-wise, the daimyo of that region is actually a Catholic, like actually a devout Catholic, not just one of these dudes doing it for the guns. He's like a real, actual fucking dude who believes.
So
right?
they got actual context.
So the Jesuits have it locked down in Nagasaki. So Yasuke goes back there, becomes a soldier, is training other soldiers. He ends up back at Arima's castle. Remember where they landed in the begining?
Right.
The kid who was going to become a Catholic so he could get the guns, but he was fighting his dad not that long ago. His dad was a Catholic and he didn't like that.
Right, that's where he started.
He ends up back at Arima's castle, right? Arima is still fighting this Ryuzoji clan.
Damn, so is it the same siege? Like,
No, they're just still fighting.
How long is the time period on all this, by the way? Like
3 years?
Like 3 years?
3
It's about
plus
how long,
years?
I believe, The Last Samurai with Tom Cruise takes place.
You see what I have to deal with every week? So Yeah, he's still he's still fighting this Ryozoji clan, right? He ends up back at Arima Castle because Arima makes sort of this. He makes a few alliances with one clan that isn't like necessarily crazy about the Catholics, but they're just kind of like, we're not going to do that, but whatever, we're okay with you doing it, right? And with the Jesuits, they all fucking go, okay, we'll fight these guys, these Ryozoji who are like hardcore anti-Catholic, right? So they're trying to put a fucking finish on this, right? So when they originally came, when Valignano and Yasuke originally land on this shore, right? At Arima's castle, or near Arima's castle, part of the deal was that Valignano was going to get Arima a couple of cannons. He placed the order. It took this long to get all the way back to Europe for the cannons to be made and to get all the way back to Japan. So these are new installations. And Yasuke is training these guys on how to fire these cannons.
Wow.
They're not the muzzle loading ones. They're the ones that you load from the back with the fuse that you can load multiple cannonballs.
Yeah.
They're not quite as strong, but they're more you can turn them and point them instead of having to move the whole
more
fucking
agile
thing.
Yeah, I used some of those in Assassin's Creed Black Flag.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
He just does it to upset me.
It's historically accurate.
That's the point.
Check. Pretty please.
So
He says because we've been recording for 4 hours.
he's
Pretty
he's
please.
actually at the final battle of Arima and Ryozoji, right? Yasuke, is part of a very, very small fucking like band of dudes holding one of the walls of this castle, firing on the Ryozoji troops, right? And there's like 10 of them, right? They've got to hold like 10,000 troops while these other allies circle and attack from other areas.
Damn.
Right? Literally, like the story of this is fucking tight, dude. Like these guys are advancing and they are just firing cannons, and the other guys are just loading the cannons, and Yasuke is going back and forth and aiming and firing them because he was the quickest with them, right? And he's just aiming and firing them, and just dude, like fucking arms and legs and heads and viscera just flying everywhere.
Damn.
As they're trying to keep these troops who keep advancing and getting a little closer.
Right.
They end up winning the battle narrowly. Arima does, right? They end up killing the Ryozoji.
Thanks to them cannons.
Oh, big time. So there's a lot of presumption at this point, right? We know a few stories of a few black men living in Japan after this goes down. That battle is the last we have of actual historical document of Yasuke, right?
Okay.
That's the end. There were some people of African descent living on the islands at this time, and kind of one of the best fits. Well, so here's the thing. We know that between his work for Valignano, his work for Nobunaga, this battle at Arima's castle, we know that Yasuke kind of probably made a small fortune overall this time.
I mean, right off the bat, when he first met Nobunaga, like one of his sons gave him a bunch of fucking money.
Yeah, like I said, Nobunaga was also known to lavish the guys that he really liked, and we know that he really liked Yasuke with all these gifts and stuff. Now, what he had on him during that final battle when Nobunaga died, right? We don't know. It was not uncommon.
It fucking sucks he couldn't keep that sword.
It was not uncommon. He probably didn't.
He had to give it up when he got captured.
Probably, yeah.
That sucks. That's a legendary blade.
I know, right?
That is something you want to pass on to your kids.
Where is that now?
I doesn't fuck the kids. Whatever. Like you want that shit. That's cool.
I wonder where that thing is now. But yeah, so we know that back in the day, it was very common for Japanese men to carry like a small sack, like a small purse on their belt with all of their actual coin money on them, right?
Okay.
That was not uncommon. That's pretty much what everybody did. So as far as what other gifts he got from Nobunaga, we're not really sure. But the money part of it, he probably had on him when this was going down. But who's to say he didn't lose it during that fucking crazy ass battle? Who's to say when they captured him, they didn't take it?
Yeah.
So we don't know what he retained from that. We know that he definitely made some money with this final battle. He also was making money in Nagasaki training soldiers. So he, the Jesuits weren't allowed to have slaves. So any role that he played was paid for, right? And he would have gotten paid a lot for that final battle at Arima just by way of what he did. Him and this handful of men holding the wall of this castle and not letting the Ryuzoji troops sort of overwhelm them. That's pretty big. So we know
for a bonus.
Yeah, we know that he got paid handsomely for that. So like I said, that's the point where we lose him. He's well known. He's got some money. He's definitely got some pull. He's got some influence just by way of having money, right? In Japan. So we have a story about a quote unquote black giant who is very known and respected retainer for one of the lords down in Kyushu, which is the next island down, second biggest island in Japan.
Okay.
He's referenced in the stories as Kurobo, right? Kurobo was sort of a blanket term for anybody who is black. The origins are probably Colombo Island, which is part of Sri Lanka.
Goddamn, the sword's lost to history. Motherfucker.
Sorry, but so Colombo Island is off of it's part of Sri Lanka.
Yeah,
so obviously dark people.
Right near the Straits of Peter Falk.
So stupid. I was waiting for you to make a Colombo joke.
I'm not gonna do another one. I mean, maybe just one more thing. All right, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Next to the Isle of Perry Mason. So we know that was sort of a blanket term, right? Kurobo had to do with that, and it was just someone who was dark, right? That could have been him. Apparently, this was a very well-respected, very wealthy retainer for this lord down in this area, right? He also could have left and taken his fucking fortune elsewhere, right? It's not like he hasn't been to plenty of other places that he may have liked more.
I know the world.
He's been, he's been around.
And it's only been 3 years.
Yeah. I mean, I can't imagine where that might be I would absolutely fucking love to live in Japan.
There's also that moment that we talked about where he looked at the globe, right?
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. He went back home.
That's probably
he's like, he said it was like a real moment to see where he's from and how far he's come.
Yeah.
But there's so much globe left. Yeah. Right?
That's true too.
Who's to say he wasn't just like, let me get the fuck out of here. I've had my Japan storyline.
My experience is that I can't think of but this is a very different Japan than what I experienced. So I don't fucking know. I don't know. I'm not gonna pretend I can put myself in somebody else's brain. So I would love to fucking live in Japan personally. But
in that movie,
this is different.
I swear to God, in that movie, he's got to get the sword back. he's got to before he leaves Japan. Like that would be the end cap. Like him giving up the sword, then the disgrace period, and then
Hideyoshi beat Akachi. Akachi's troops had the sword. So
yeah, exactly. So like just one moment of him just like opening a thing,
but
grabbing his sword.
You know those visuals of like this Sengoku era, the Civil War era of Japan, where it's just like fields of bodies with like the katanas just like growing like plants out of the ground. Just all the katanas.
Yeah.
That might have been one of them. Just stabbed into a body and left in a fucking field to turn into rust.
Well, then I suppose in that case, you could do the final shot like in the movie Braveheart, where the sword's kind of like wobbling, and they pull back in the voiceover.
Stuck in some.
But I would, helmet. If I was directing it just for my own peace of mind, I would have the last shot be like his hand, like grabbing the hilt.
Just that one's for you, huh?
Yeah, that's just I want to make history that for me.
Right.
That's all.
Well, he also could have gone back to sailing. He's got, but that's an option for him.
Yeah, maybe
do whatever he wants to do.
Spot of leisure sailing.
No, I mean sailing for work. He could have. Returned to Jesuit employ and, eventually left Japan in that way.
Maybe he met a nice Japanese girl, settled up in the country somewhere.
He could have become a pirate.
And then later, when he's like 50 years old, bandits are attacking the village. He's settled and, oh shit, Yasuke, he's got a John Wicket.
No, all the pirate bands in this area were known to have multi-ethnic crews, so he could have joined a pirate band.
What would he play? Like guitar, bass?
There honestly, there are so many fucking possibilities. And
it's a comedy podcast, Javon. All right, we got to keep the jokes rolling, or else the money stops coming in.
Fair enough. Okay.
We
Part
have
of the
made
mystery.
tens of dollars off of this. Okay,
Tens of dollars.
Part of the mystery and part of what makes it tough to track him through time is we don't even know what his original name was. If he left Japan and went back to his,
and the's
He's not going to be called Yasuke.
then we don't hear Yasuke again.
There's the whole crux of that movie, though, because
Actually, my name is Frank. I'm sorry.
yes,
Written history never references the name Yasuke again from that point forward. We know that. So there are some other weird theories. Like there's a photo from like just post Edo period Japan. So we're talking 200 years later, right? Of a young sort of like teens kid in traditional Japanese clothing with the 2 katana at his side through his belt, right? And he is very clearly of black descent. The theory, which is interesting here,
He stuck around.
is that
Yasuke is a vampire.
The theory is that this might be one of his
descendants.
because, and here's what's interesting. Once Edo period starts, once
Nobody
Edo,
can fucking join Japan.
nobody can. The only samurais, the only people who would be dressed like that would have already been from samurai lineage. They did not add anybody else. You couldn't become a samurai from being a commoner, right? There was no way. So anybody wearing those clothes would have come from direct lineage of samurai.
That's the end of the movie. That's the one. That's it. That's where it goes.
That's one of the theories, man. But we don't know. We'll never.
No,
fucking
actually,
know.
the end of the movie would be someone theorizing all of the stuff we just theorized and giving it the flavor and having those cool shots.
And it would be Peter Falk reading to Fred Savage.
And then,
in his bed while he's
Fred Savage would be like, "Well, could it be a descendant?" And Peter Falk's like, "Shut up, eat your meal," or whatever he says.
We're the Maoris.
With the Mori clan.
So that is the fucking exciting conclusion to
Awesome story.
fucking
Awesome
Yasuke.
story.
Badass story.
Yasuke,
Awesome story.
African samurai, the first known
With a big dick.
foreigner to
With a
become
big dick.
an official samurai
Awesome,
in Japan.
Awesome
Fuck
story.
yeah. No,
Awesome
that was good.
story.
I'm going to put that definitely up amongst my favorite stories that
This
we've
is a good one.
come across. Yeah.
We've been on a good roll, man. We've been on
Good.
a
That's
solid
good.
roll.
Well done, Patrick.
Thank you,
Yeah,
thank you,
yeah,
thank you.
yeah.
This was
Kudos.
I had 3 weeks to really fucking put these notes together.
Yeah.
I will never have as long to put a show together as I did this.
This is fair. Although I've been working on the one bonus episode.
Yeah, you have been
not in partnership
Bretton
with
Woods
the
one,
shh.
I just said.
Don't say.
Oh, I shouldn't say the name of
Bleep.
it. Okay.
No, I'd fucking say it. Yeah, we're trying to do one on the Bretton Woods Agreement. It's a whole financial trade deal. But it's definitely not in partnership with the University of Minnesota. I want to make that very clear.
I don't get the joke. I had to watch the episode.
For legal
it's not
reasons.
A joke. It's absolutely not. It's
For
not,
legal
it's
reasons.
the only episode I'm going to ever say is not in partnership with the University
For
of
legal
Minnesota.
reasons,
Fair
we
enough,
can't
fair-
say who it is in partnership with, but we can say who it's not in partnership.
Fair
And
enough.
it is
Okay.
not
And
in
the one
partnership with
the one
of
university that we
Minnesota.
can think of that we want to say it's definitely not in partnership with them is the University of Wisconsin.
No, Minnesota.
Minnesota, I'm sorry.
Minnesota.
They're next door.
I'm not saying
neighbors. It's
anything
basically
about
the same place.
Wisconsin.
Same place.
We're not in partnership with the University of Minnesota.
Okay. Or Wisconsin.
That's all right. Just there's a teaser trailer alert.
Anywho, if you guys like this episode, please go on to our show page. Leave us a comment if you're on Spotify on this episode or any of the other ones that you really liked.
And this is just this is our bonus episode. So the bonus second part of this episode of the last episode.
Mhm.
So
Correct.
I hope you liked it. It was a little,
This is
little treat.
a cool midweek treat. It was a fun midweek treat. It's been a while since we've done one. So
And if you really enjoy it, they may invite me back. So please.
you're always invited.
Javon,
back.
you got anything you want to plug?
I just want to thank these two guys for inviting me.
Go on.
You're always welcome.
What
it.
the world?
Yeah, but go on Spotify, leave a comment. Go on Apple Podcasts, leave a review for us. Leave a 5-star rating if you liked us on both of those things. Audible also allows you to do that. Send us a personal message. If there's something that you really like historical that you haven't heard us say yet, it might already be on our list. It might not be.
Yeah, we got
Send
a
us
bunch
message.
of cool stuff coming up,
Yeah.
coming down the pipe.
Delete everything podcast at gmail.com. We will respond directly to you and tell you what we think about your idea.
Our YouTube, I did some specific historical context videos on
we
this
have a
trip
YouTube now.
recently that
Nobody knows that.
that don't have to be on the Patreon because I put a bunch of other shit in the Patreon. So I'm going to put a couple of like historical visits to a couple of sites on the YouTube here soon, which will be fun just for context and
we'll have a YouTube up soon.
start doing some tie-ins with the episodes. For instance, the place that I went to that was not at all a part of the episode that is not in partnership with the University of Minnesota.
So,
separate topic. Happy birthday to my amazing wife. I love you, baby. Enjoy your day.
it's Erica's
Oh,
birthday
happy
too?
birthday, Erica.
Next week.
Okay, but that's fine.
By
By the time this comes out, yeah.
Exactly.
And then
So part 1 was for Andy, part 2 is for Erica.
Bam.
hey,
I love it. I love both of those people, so it's perfect. If you just don't feel like that's enough, all those things are just not enough, you really, really, really need more of us.
you want blood from the stone? What more can we give you?
Patreon.
You want me to open a vein?
Patreon.com/delete everything podcast. You can find us there every week. Bonus episodes, bonus videos, bonus all kinds of shit. Every week we drop something on there.
Videos.
Usually the episodes are about 45 minutes long. We got fun stuff there. So come check us out there. I mean, it's,
Yeah, check out the Patreon this week. Was last week was Manhattan. This week will be, I don't know, me just fucking jet setting around doing a bunch of bullshit in New England.
Riley York and his boner.
York and my boner in New
Nice.
England.
Sounds
All right, guys.
provocative.
Thank you again, and we will see you next week.
Peace.
Bye.
Bye.